Whoa. Hey everybody, welcome to Monday. Monday is here and, well, it's already late afternoon. I'd already started recording a video earlier today, but unfortunately something went wrong and corrupted the file. I was recording it on the big camera and something went terribly wrong, and so now I have to do it all over again. What do you do? Other than that little mishap that happened, I've been doing pretty well. I have been working busy trying to get everything done so that I can make up for the lack of the recording that I already did. Also, I'm not on the Osmo, so that's why there's a lot of bit of jiggle, because the Osmo, I think, is completely dead for right now and needs to be charged. Just not have gotten around to it yet. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into what today is all about. I had been watching on YouTube the accent challenges last night. I know those have been around for a long time, and I know people have done them for a pretty good while, but I thought, wouldn't it be kind of fun to do it? I do live in the South. I do know I have a little bit of an accent. So it'll be kind of interesting to go over some of these words. Also, I apologize if I sound really bad. Our weather is totally screwy right now, and I mean really screwy. The temperatures are changing drastically from day to day, which has really played and wreaked havoc on my sinus congestion terribly. Yesterday, as an example, it was in the 40s, and then it dropped into the 20s, which is a pretty good swing. But to even go further back, on Thursday of last week, it was in the almost 70 degrees around 6, 7 o'clock at night. And then the next day, it was in the 20s. And then the next day it was in the 50s, and then the next day it was in the 20s. Today is no different. Today it is in the 40s and almost 50 degrees. And then tonight, overnight, it's going to drop and plummet again and drop down into the teens. And then tomorrow it's not going to get any above the teens, and we're expecting snow. And if you watched yesterday's video, which little bit of it was, you saw at the grocery store where everybody's already sucked up all the milk and bread. It's a southern thing, I guess. I don't understand why everybody takes all the milk and bread when it's going to snow. I have no clue what that's all about. Never understood that. But I picked up what I needed, and I didn't really care about the milk and bread because I honestly don't eat a lot of bread, and I don't use a lot of milk. I use cream. I use a lot of heavy cream. But I don't drink milk on the regular. Also, I do have a lamp in here today because it is so dim outside. The first few times I filmed this, didn't need a lamp because it was full on sunny. Now the clouds have moved in and the temperatures are starting to change, so I need a lamp so you can see. So with the accent challenge, I just wanted to have a little fun, see if you can tell the difference between where you live and where I live. I do know I have an accent. Like I said, mine is not as stout as a majority of the people that live here, and I will do my best to kind of go over this with you. So without any further ado, let me rotate myself here in the seat, and let's read off some words, shall we? We're going to jump right in. I'm going to lean down, so I'm going to be all up on top of you. I'm sorry. I said yeah. See? That's already an accent thing, right? With that being said, we'll jump in. The first word is ant. Now, I will tell you, I'm going to go through and say some of them how I know I should say them, and how I sometimes say them, and how sometimes I don't say them the way they're supposed to be told. So the first one is ant. I know people say aunt, but some people say aunt. I don't know anybody that says aunt. Pretty much everybody says aunt here. Envelope. The next one is always fun. It's route. I say route and route. It just depends on the context in which I'm talking. If it is like I'm taking the directions to someplace, or I'm looking for directions, or the quickest way to get somewhere, it's the quickest route. But if I'm on a road, it's a route. So if I'm on Route 66, which is really weird because it's Route 66, and I will say that one. But if it's like 33, it's Route 33. It's really strange how that works for me. All right, so I had to pause for a moment. The next one on the list is theater. I do know people that say theater, but it is theater. Where were we? Caught. Salmon. Salmon. I grew up with somebody that actually said salmon versus salmon. That is exactly how they said it. It was salmon. The next one's also one of those that could be either or for me, and that's caramel. It can be caramel or caramel. It really just doesn't matter, and it depends on my mood, I guess, when I blurt out the word. Though, the next one. So the next one's where some of the words start to change for me. The next one is fire. I will say fire if I am knowing what I'm talking about. And it all, again, depends on who I'm with at the time I'm speaking. But a lot of times it comes out fire. So, like, if I'm going to go build a fire, that's how it comes out. It doesn't come out, I'm going to go build a fire. I'm going to build a fire. That is a very, very accented word for me, for sure. Sorry I keep pausing. I told you I'm congested, and I have sneezed a million times today, so that is where that's coming into play. The next word is coupon or coupon, either or. Usually it's coupon for me. This one's fun too. Pecan. I know a lot of people say pecan or pecan. I say pecan. That's just the way it's supposed to be. Both. Again. Probably. This is a good one too. Lawyer. I understand it's lawyer, but it comes out of my mouth as lawyer. I don't ever say lawyer. Lawyer. I say lawyer. I had to think about it for a second. No matter how hard I try, it's lawyer. All the way around. The next one I add a D to it, and that's water. There's always a D in there. It's water. Not water. This one's fun too. Mayonnaise. I typically just say mayo. I don't say mayonnaise. But if I say, oh, I'll have mayonnaise. Mayonnaise. Sometimes it's that way too. Mayonnaise. Mayonnaise. Not mayonnaise. So you have to watch me. I slip up on some things. Pajamas. Pajamas. Either or. Ooh, this one's good. Iron. I know that one's a strong one. Iron. Not iron is what it is. I-R-O-N. But I tend to say iron instead of iron. Like if I'm going to iron my clothes, or if that building is made out of iron, I'll say that. I don't always say iron. I try to catch myself, again. I try to catch myself and try not to let a lot of them slip out, but iron is one of them. Naturally, this one always confuses me because everybody in Europe says it differently. Aluminum. This one's also fun, is I say New Orleans or New Orleans. I don't say New Orleans. Unless it's like I'm being really proper, then it's New Orleans. But normally it's New Orleans. Cracker Jack. Doorknob. Oh, I just saying that one. How would you say doorknob different? And Alabama. Now that sounds really country coming out of my mouth. Alabama. So here's, moving the phone around, sorry. Here's some of the questions that you're supposed to answer. What do you call it when someone throws toilet paper on a house that's TPing? When you're in the South, you do some TPing, and I think it's like a rite of passage that you TP somebody's house at least once. What is a bubbly carbonated drink called? So when I was a kid growing up, it was Coke. Everything was Coke. Diet Coke, Mountain Dew, Pepsi, Sprite, Coke. Everything was Coke. As I've grown older and people have changed a little bit, it has definitely become more of a soda. I'll have a soda, but not Coke anymore. But Coke was my big go-to word. I'm swapping arms. I apologize. My arm is getting super tired. Holding it up with that arm. The next one is, what term do you call for gym shoes? Sneakers. I call it sneakers. What do you call your grandparents? This one's where it gets country for me, y'all. Let's see, y'all. This is where it gets really super country for me. So my grandparents most grandparents are like grandfather, grandmother. Most people say things like that. Mine was granny and granddaddy. So it was granny and granddaddy. My mom, my sister's kids, call her Nina and Papa. So it's a little bit different than normal, but my sister likes to be outside of the box, which I love. And plus, everybody calls my mom Neen now, so that's kind of how that works. Even I call her Neen, now that I think about it. What do you call the thing with wheels you use to carry groceries? Alright, so I'm back again. My phone died, and I don't know what it is today. Nothing wants to work right. I recorded a whole chunk of the rest of the words, and my phone did not record it because my phone died. What do you call the thing with wheels to carry groceries at the supermarket? That is a buggy, or a shopping cart sometimes. I will call it a shopping cart, but usually it's a buggy. The next one is, what do you call the thing you change channels on the TV that's a remote? Sometimes I call it a clicker, but it's rare. I'm usually just joking about when I say clicker, but it's usually remote. Do you think you have an accent? Heck yes, I know I do. I know it's not every word that's accented for sure, but I definitely have an accent. It also wants you to read a passage from a book, so let me grab a book. Now, the only book that I have handy is this terrible book that I read for work, and so it's a very boring book, so I will tell you that much. But I will read the passage here. Let me find one. What many of you want to do, however, based upon perhaps old habits of writing daily to-do lists, is to put action on the calendar that they think they'd really like to get done the next Monday. So that's kind of how I read it. That's not really much different than most people, I don't think. Now, I do know a lot of people assume that living in the South, we all talk really Southern. My mother does have more of a old school Southern accent. It's a little bit more of a pleasant one, like a Scarlett O'Hara kind of Southern drawl. It's not quite as heavy, but it's still there. Now, many people would expect me to read it a little differently, and that's kind of what I grew up talking like. I grew up with a pretty thick accent, Southern accent all the way around, and I've kind of worked to remove it. What they think that I would read it as is, let me try this and see if I can get it right. Right. What many want to do, however, based on perhaps old habits of writing daily to-do lists, is to put action on the calendar that they think they'd really like to get done next Monday. Now, I do have an accent. A lot of people here talk a little more like that than I do. And I have friends that are really, really heavy accented. Mine is not as bad, but I do have a few that are in there that I talk sometimes like this. Not too heavily, though, because I don't like to sound like this very often. But this was kind of how I talked when I was growing up. Real Southern-like and a lot of drawn-out words. Now, I do have a bit of a draw in a lot of words, to be honest. I really do. I have a Southern drawl. That's just how it works for me. But that's kind of the accent challenge. It says say 3 words that come to your mind, and I'm going to tell you 3 words that come to mind that I do say heavily accented. That would be not. I say night, but I also say not, bright, and light. I will say, boy, it's really bright out here, or that light is really bright. I don't say that all the time, but it will slip out of me sometimes. I definitely use y'all, as you obviously have seen. I say y'all all the time. So when I'm doing this, obviously I'm sinking back into the accent that I grew up with, but I have done really well to try to keep that away, just because when I was growing up, a lot of people thought that people in the South that talked like that sounded really, really dumb. Honestly, they felt that when I was growing up, I heard it a lot that if you talk like that, you're not as intelligent. So I worked my darndest to get rid of that accent as best I could. I think it's gone for the most part, but I know it's still there when I say certain words. It comes out. One of my favorite accents that is in the Tennessee accent repertoire, if you will, is the East Tennessee accents. I honestly wish I could get that mastered and actually speak like that. I know a lot of people are like, why would you want to sound like that? But it's because it's really cool. It's very country. It's very different. If you want to hear a good East Tennessee accent, really, you should probably listen to like Trey Crowder. He's very political. He's also known as the liberal redneck. But he is a funny guy. He uses a lot of vulgar words, so be prepared if you watch it. But he has a very strong East Tennessee accent. Also, listen to Dolly Parton. If you ever listen to Dolly Parton when she's talking, that is a strong East Tennessee accent as well. Hers is not as stout as it used to be, I would imagine, but Trey's is pretty seriously Southern all the way around. And then, of course, if you really want to get into accents in Tennessee, I don't know much about the west side of Tennessee. I do know they have Southern accents too, but East Tennessee accents to me are so much cooler, or better, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Don't hate me for that. Memphis folks, you're still awesome. But the East Tennessee accent to me is really cool. If you really want to see something that's outrageously accented, look up, just YouTube search, because you're on YouTube right now. YouTube search Southern, East Tennessee Appalachian accents, or Appalachian accents. Those people are serious. They're like East Tennessee, like Trey kind of accent, but they are a lot heavier. And they use a lot of slang that I've heard some of their videos and I can't understand them. I mean, it's almost like a different language in some ways. I think it's kind of cool. I'm kind of glad I don't have that heavy of an accent, but I could go for like a Dolly or a Trey type of accent. I can handle that. All right, I apologize again. I had to pause it. I told you my congestion's really bad. I have now sneezed 2 more times. That's putting me at like almost the 30 sneezes a day mark, which is getting really old fast. So real quickly, I did pull up Trey so you can hear him. It is Trae. It's not like a normal Trey. I just want you to hear him real quickly. And I'm going to play a little snippet. Hopefully there's no foul language.
Hey y'all, it's that time of year. Got a lot to be thankful for, obviously. But first, some tidbits from the
Whoa.
Status quo. First off, the FCC is probably going to succeed in killing net neutrality.
So more than likely, I cut out part of that you just watched or heard. That is basically an East Tennessee accent, and I think it's fantastic. If I could pull that off, I would probably go with it all the time. I don't know why. I really just like that accent. But if I could have it in like a more worldly accent, I would probably go with something. I really like the English accent. And I really like the Scottish accent. The Irish accent I like as well, but I like the Scottish accent pretty good also. And I think they're kind of cool the way they speak and the words they use. There is one other accent that I wouldn't mind picking up if I could, and that is the transatlantic accent. This is a very odd accent. If you've never heard of it, I'm going to look it up for you so you can hear it. Alright, so I found a video. This is a young woman. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think it's The Torah Show is what she is on YouTube. But she has an English transatlantic style accent. Transatlantic, so you know, is type of accent that was used in classic films. I really like it. So I'm going to play you a snippet of her. And I know I probably won't have to edit much on this because she's not going to be as wordy as Trey is.
Hi, I'm Toria. You might remember me from previous videos. Hi. So for today's video, I thought that I would do the accent tag. Despite the fact that no one has actually tagged me, I thought I would do the accent tag because...
I don't know if you could hear any of that or not, but I really like it. If not, look up the accent tag for transatlantic. It is just, I love that style of accent. It's very posh and proper. And nobody really talks like that in real life. It's not a true accent. It's one that's kind of acquired. And I guess with practice I could get it. So that's it, folks. That is the accent challenge, accent tag. So I thought I would give it a go and let you kind of hear what I sound like. Not that you don't hear me already if you watch these every day, but it kind of gives you an idea of some of the words I may say differently than you. So how do you say words like fire and iron? Do you say fire? Do you say iron? Do you say y'all? I use y'all a lot, so get ready for that. As for me, I'm going to close out this day. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe. Hit the little bell down below so you get notified that I post, because I post pretty much every single day. But as I say every day, I will see y'all on the other side. Till tomorrow.